Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm going to take the session on how to prepare for world history, and let me introduce myself. So I'm Himanshu Khatri. I cleared the 2014 batch, Indian Revenue Services Customs. Right, so I gave the 2013 attempt and that was my successful attempt. So overall I have given 3 attempts, right? So 2012, 2011, 12, 13. Before that I have done my IIT from IIT Delhi, Civil Engineering, right? I have also worked in the private sector. So anyways, that's a small brief about me. So I take world history here, and let us come to the topic of how to prepare for world history. So you are like beginners, complete beginners. Some of you might have had history as your subject in your graduation or something. So I will imagine that you are a student who does not have any background in history, and he or she wants to prepare for UPSC. So from that perspective, what to look at, in the world history section. So coming to the topic right away. Just first of all, let us see what is the syllabus like of world history, or what are the important events which we cover in the world history. So the UPSC says that the event from roughly your 18th century, they are the part of the syllabus. So, but the major events which come into picture is, first of all comes your American Revolution. And before the American Revolution comes, the 7-Year War. So the 7-Year War was basically, Winston Churchill once said that 7-Year War is the war which was the first world war, because it was fought across many continents. Multiple players were involved. It was France, it was involved, Britain was involved, Spain was involved, your Prussia, not Russia but Prussia, which is the erstwhile state before Germany. Okay, so that was involved, Austria was involved. So 7-Year War, right, around the time of your 1750s, let's not get into the years right now. American Revolution, then your French Revolution, right. After the French Revolution, Napoleon and his actions till 1815. Then comes your Congress of Vienna, 1815. After the Congress of Vienna, 1815, alongside comes your Industrial Revolution. So Industrial Revolution, it happened from your 1750s to 1850s. So 1850s, then 1830s revolts, then 1848 revolts. Okay, these are some of the things which happen. Then comes the unification movements, that is unification of Germany, unification of Italy. So actually Italy and Germany, they were not single country like they are right now. Earlier they were divided into different states, they were different kingdoms, right? So therefore there was a process which was followed for your unification of Germany and for later on unification of Italy also. So this got completed around the time of 1870. Once your 1870 comes, after that there is this race for colonies, जिसको कभी कभी हम बोलते हैं new imperialism. Right. So your old NCERT calls it new imperialism. Right. So this covers the period of 1870 to 1914. When we come here, then around the time of 1914 comes the World War I. Right. So World War I, then your World War II and the period between them. ठीक है, तो इस तरीके से चीजें बढ़ती हैं. Then before moving on to the next topic, what is the next topic? Next topic, it is like Cold War, etc. Before moving on to the next topic, if we go outside this European domain, then what do we see? We see there is colonialism in China. Okay. So from 1840s till your 1940s, तो it is said that China is taking revenge of century of humiliation. तो जो उनको humiliate किया गया था उस चीज का revenge ले रहे हो. ठीक है, तो वो सब चीजें हमको पता चलती हैं. ठीक है. Similarly, colonialism in China, colonialism in Africa. Right? Some of the events which we take care regarding your South America also, कुछ उसका भी देखते हैं. ठीक है, so colonialism majorly in China, majorly in Africa, because these two were the most important areas which were to be colonized once your new imperialism began. Right? तो ये आ गया. उसके बाद फिर साइमल्टेनियसली हम किस पे आ जाते हैं? कोल्ड वॉर पे आ जाते हैं. कोल्ड वॉर विच वाज फॉट बिटवीन द कम्युनिस्ट वर्ल्ड एंड द कैपिटलिस्ट वर्ल्ड. आफ्टर ए कोल्ड वॉर साइमल्टेनियसली समथिंग हैपेंस, दैट इज योर यूरोपियन यूनियन. So we talk about European unity, that how gradually this European Union which you read about, which is in the newspapers, etc., how it came into existence in 1993, but the process, it began way back in 1947, 1948, right, with first major organization being European Coal and Steel Community of 1951, right, then European Economic Community coming into picture in 1957. तो वो क्या क्या था प्रैक्स. Similarly, so therefore we look at the European unity and the different aspects related to it. Then we also see neo-colonialism. But before neo-colonialism, obviously we'll talk about decolonization. Decolonization, it basically means the colonies like India, etc., they getting independence, right? So what was the different aspects which were behind, what were the reasons for decolonization, what was the impact of decolonization, how did the countries they fared after they became independent? Did development come to them after independence, or it was still elusive? Why it was elusive, right? Then we discuss neo-colonialism, and another aspect is your Arab-Israel conflict or Arab nationalism. So broadly these are the topics which are covered. So 7-year war, American Revolution, French Revolution, Napoleon, Congress of Vienna, Industrial Revolution, 1830, 1848 revolts, and obviously one aspect which we should not forget, that is socialism and its different forms. Right? So here we discuss socialism in China. इसके क्या क्या सब टॉपिक्स हैं? Socialism in Russia. So here we discuss the Russian Revolution. And we discuss Stalin, we discuss Nikita Khrushchev, we discuss Brezhnev era, all of these things, Mikhail Gorbachev, right? That is ultimately from beginning in 1917 till the end in 1991, what happened in Russia, that becomes an important part. Then socialism in China. So here we discuss Maoism. Then we discuss the reforms brought by Deng Xiaoping in 1976, because of which today you see, is China a socialist country or is it a capitalist country? Right? What is market socialism? So different kind of aspects, concepts we discuss when we discuss socialism in China. Right? Then if the time allows, then socialism in other countries, it also comes into picture. Okay. So for example, briefly we can talk about Indian socialism. That what is the kind of socialism which is there in India. Right? What kind of a hybrid model it is there. Apart from socialism, there is another theory, that is of fascism. So here we discuss the theory of fascism, the aspects of fascism. Alongside we discuss, although there was no particular thinker in fascist ideology, in case of socialist ideology, we will be discussing about Karl Marx. Right? But in case of your fascism, as such there is no theory. It is basically the theory, it can be extracted from the way in which your Hitler, Mussolini, Franco, these kind of leaders they function, right? So here we talk about Hitler, that is exactly how he came to power and what were the different set of policies he brought in. We will discuss his foreign policy as well, and we also discuss Mussolini. Obviously Mussolini is the elder brother of Hitler. So Mussolini, he came to power in 1922. Hitler, he came to power in your 1933. He became chancellor. Right. So therefore, we also discuss fascism, and then we compare the two. That what are the similarities and the differences between fascism and communism, or the way socialism was implemented in USSR, right? Or the way Karl Marx. So was socialism in Russia similar to Karl Marx, or was it different from Karl Marx? We discuss policies of different leaders. For example, in Russia, we'll discuss the policies of Lenin, of Stalin, and as I mentioned, Nikita Khrushchev, etc., etc. Right? So therefore, these are the different aspects we discuss. When we discuss this Cold War, then a lot of areas come into this picture. So for example, agar Cold War ko hum elaborate kare, then what are the topics which you will be encountering? So in Cold War, for example, you will be talking about 1945 to 49. There was this civil war in China. There was this civil war in China. Apart from that, from 1947 onwards, what do we see? 1947 onwards, the US takes certain actions. So we'll be discussing about we'll be discussing about Marshall Aid. We'll be talking about Truman Doctrine. We'll talk about policy of containment. That is, the capitalist world, it wanted to contain the spread of communism. एक के बाद एक country communist बनती जा रही थी, जो US था, tension में था, right? Apart from this, we'll talk about iron cutting. मतलब बहुत सारे topics हैं इसमें. Broadly अगर मतलब मोटे-मोटे topics आपको बताऊं, so for example, we'll be discussing. So broadly, Cold War, we'll be discussing inside of Europe. We'll be discussing outside of Europe, right? So these aspects we'll be covering. For example, we'll be discussing Korean War. We'll be discussing Indo-China War. We'll be discussing Vietnam War. Right? We can discuss events in Chile if the time allows. We'll be talking about Cuba, Cuban Missile Crisis. We'll talk about Fidel Castro. We'll talk about Che Guevara. Right? So therefore, all of these multiple things, division of Europe, Berlin Wall, etc., etc., a lot of things are there. Right? So that part we'll be discussing. Alongside, we'll be discussing the third world, that is your non-aligned movement, NAM, thoda bahut. Okay. So broadly, these are the different topics which are part of your world history. Right? So what do we learn? We learn that the syllabus of world history, it is pretty large. Okay? The syllabus of world history pretty comprehensive. Rather, in a way, it is more than modern Indian history also. But in the recent times, we see that not much questions have been asked by the UPSC from world history. Okay? So earlier 3 or 4 questions were being asked, but gradually now a couple of questions or one question it is being asked. Second aspect that we see is that more questions are there on interconnections. That is, interconnections between your world history and your modern Indian history. Right? Also, what do we see? Another characteristic feature of the questions is that questions have been more and more analytical. So therefore, from this perspective, what do we see is that UPSC wants a student who is analytical. UPSC does not want a Ratu Tota. UPSC wants a person who can think on his feet. UPSC wants a person who has not simply attended a coaching institute and, mugged up something and wahan jaake, simply delivered that. No. UPSC wants a student who has understood the basic underlying concepts. Because only that kind of student would be able to interconnect. Right? So therefore, if a question comes that what are the similarities and differences between American Revolution and French Revolution? Or someone says that, okay, provide a linkage between the events which were happening outside of India and the events which were happening inside of India. What was the impact of the world history on the events in Indian history? So therefore, a student who has not done interconnections while preparation, who has not done any analytical work during the preparation, that kind of student would be failing. Whereas a student who has done this exercise of interconnecting, that kind of student will be prosperous in terms of marks, right? So therefore, this is keeping this thing in ideology. Okay, now let us come to the part that how to basically prepare for all of these subjects. Okay. First thing that comes to mind of the student is कि सर कहाँ से पढ़े, है ना? So first thing that comes are sources of preparation. ठीक है. So here you have certain books like Norman Loewe. You have books like Jain and Mathur. You obviously have NCERT's Old and New. Right. Broadly these three sources are the sources which are usually referred to, and काफी बड़ी book है. Like for example, Norman Loewe runs into around 750 or 800 pages. Jain and Mathur, obviously I think it is more than 1000 pages. Right. NCERT is obviously multiple classes. Multiple. For example, old NCERT, then new NCERT. These are the things. So therefore, what we see is that the number of questions which come for the world history वो उतने ज़्यादा है नहीं. If you look at the sources, then it is a huge amount of material which is to be read, right? It is a huge amount of material which is to be read. Now the idea is not, see, never think that you will be able to clear UPSC by having a shortcut. ठीक है, मतलब आप सोच रहे हो ठीक है कि ये कुछ मिल जाए वो कुछ मिल जाए, but I have an experience of preparing for 3 years. In my first attempt I cleared prelims, in my second attempt I cleared mains, in my third attempt I cleared interview, right? So I know this process, and so it has been an incremental journey for me. तो shortcut से काम नहीं चलेगा, and over a period of time you will realize that yes, shortcuts do not work, right? And therefore rectification हमें नहीं करनी है. So another option apart from this is, that's why what I'm saying is it is not a shortcut. ठीक है, ये कोई कुंजी नहीं है, कोई समरी नहीं है, इस तरीके से नहीं है, बट हाँ एक ऑल्टरनेट सोर्स है. सो फॉर एग्जांपल अगर आप विजन आईएएस के नोट्स यूज करते हो, राइट, सो दीज नोट्स दे वर प्रिपेयर्ड बाय मी, दे वर प्रिपेयर्ड अराउंड द टाइम ऑफ योर 2014. उसके बाद अपडेट्स भी हुए हैं, राइट. सो माय फर्स्ट चॉइस वाज इंडियन फॉरेन सर्विसेज, एंड आई यूटिलाइज डिफरेंट सोर्सेज. आई यूटिलाइज नॉट जस्ट, I mean these, but I also searched on Google, etc., and whatever. So these notes, they run into, depending on the font size, they run into roughly 300 pages, right? But they cover most of the aspects. Okay, obviously I will not claim that they cover 100% of the aspects. They cover most of the aspects in an analytical manner, which force the student to think, which force the student to develop interconnections, right? Because I myself is not a person who can rectify. I have a very bad memory. Okay. So from that perspective, it is the analytical part which is important, which is stressed. Now questions may not come directly from it, but at least the student is able to cover the syllabus and is able to develop an analytical mind. And if a question comes which requires interconnections, which stumps the student, then the student has, over a period of time, by reading these notes or whatever, he has developed a knack for interconnecting. Right, a lot of stress has been made on interconnections in these notes. So one option is that you can go for these notes, and apart from this, whatever you want to read, you can read obviously, okay, but my recommendation will be go for these notes, and उसके बाद जो है, depending on what your level of preparation is, how important do you think world history is, how many questions do you expect, accordingly you can allocate your time. Okay. So that is one aspect. So these are the sources. Second, मैं एक बात करना चाहूँगा from the perspective, मैं यहाँ पे teacher नहीं हूँ, ठीक है? I'm not a teacher here. I'm talking to you as a student, as your friend, ठीक है? So as a student, the challenge which I faced is there was no guidance, okay? And the biggest challenge was, because of lack of this guidance, was planning. And planning not at that minute level ki okay, at what time I should wake up in the morning, nothing like that. Planning in terms of what to prepare when. And when you join the UPSC preparation, you are bombarded with material, you are bombarded with information. ठीक है, अभी मैंने फॉर एग्जांपल ये विजन आईएएस का नोट्स बताया। अब इस थ्रेड को यूज करते हुए, बाय यूजिंग दिस थ्रेड, देयर विल बी अ लॉट ऑफ कोचिंग इंस्टीट्यूट्स विल पे जो कहेंगे कि हमारा ये वाला बुक ले लो, हमारा वो वाला बुक ले लो, हमारा वो वाला बुक ले लो, ठीक है। सो लॉट ऑफ कंफ्यूजन इज गोइंग टू बी देयर, राइट। सो आई डोंट नो कि आप मेरी बात मानोगे नहीं मानोगे, वो आपके ऊपर है, बट यस, the simple point that you will see is that student gets confused a lot. He or she is bombarded like anything with information, and it becomes a really kind of a tough journey. One part of that tough journey is planning. So एक चीज बस मैं आपको बोलना चाह रहा हूं, this is your time, if your time is progressing towards this particular direction, and let's say this is your prelims. Let's say this is your prelims. एंड यहां पे आपका मेंस है और यहां पे आपका इंटरव्यू है, ठीक है। फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, बिफोर योर प्रीलिम्स, वन एक्चुअल प्रीलिम्स, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल दिस प्रीलिम्स शुड बी एटलीस्ट, ये वाला जो टाइम पीरियड रहना चाहिए बिफोर योर प्रीलिम्स, यू शुड हैव एटलीस्ट 1 year और 1.5 year ऑफ सॉलिड प्रिपरेशन, राइट। सो फर्स्ट पॉइंट कम्स कि आपका, अगर ये आपका वहां पे टाइम 0 है तो यहां पे टाइम आपका 1.5 year होना चाहिए, ठीक है। सो इफ दिस इज योर टाइम 0, देन प्रीलिम्स आपका 1.5 year पे, मीनिंग बिफोर योर प्रीलिम्स यू हैव हैड अ solid preparation of 1 year or 1.5 year, right? I'm keeping it 1.5 year, 1 year or 1.5 year where you have been preparing with full diligence, with full, spirit, etc. So usually that much time is enough to clear the UPSC in one attempt, okay? The second aspect comes is, if you look at the dynamics, so if you are a first attempter and you begin your preparation, right, and you come to the prelims, one problem that happens is that, और ये problem करके समझ में आती है, for example, I faced this problem in my first 2 attempts and there I realized what was my mistake. So when you give your prelims, till your prelims happen, first of all we have a very wrong attitude that first let us clear prelims. I say always, this is my personal thing, always focus on mains, because if you are ready for mains, very high chances are you are obviously ready for prelims. Yes, there would be some reorientation required, some test series, etc. वो सब करना पड़ेगा, but that's why always focus on mains. This helps in planning also. So imagine from 0 year to your 1.5 years, you are focused on prelims. Then between prelims and mains, you have only 3 to 4 months time period, right? This time period is only 3 to 4 months. तो अगर मैं इसको रफली उसकी तरीके से लेके चल रहा हूं, ठीक है, तो ये आपका 1.5 साल हुआ, 1 साल 6 महीना हुआ, तो यहाँ पे आपका रफली 1 year 9 months हो जाता है, ठीक है, 1 year 9 months के आसपास में आपका ये हो जाता है। अब इन 3 महीने में, इन दीज 3 months, यू विल, इफ यू थिंक, क्या क्या आपके पास काम है, द वर्क विच इज टू बी डन between the prelims and the mains, first of all you would have to do revision. Then apart from revision, you would have to write your tests, you would have to join a test series, because joining the test series is very very important, and revision, test series, ये करने के बाद में, ठीक है, you would prepare. अब imagine at this point of time you say that I want to start a new subject. Seriously, you will not get any time. What I'm hinting at, I'm basically hinting at this particular thing, that since world history, it is a subject which is not there in the prelims, so therefore अगर आपने world history prelims तक prepare नहीं किया है, if you think that you will start preparing world history after your prelims, that will never happen. That will never happen, and you will go into your mains without preparing for world history. Same is the case with any subject which does not comes in prelims. Therefore, post-independence India, world history, these are the kind of subjects which can really hurt you, right? Similarly, ethics, and ethics is whole 250 marks. Therefore, the idea is that when we begin our preparation, as far as possible, we should be doing the subjects which will not come in prelims somewhere in the earlier part. So therefore, subjects which do not come in the prelims, which are mains only subject, मतलब एक आइडिया है, यू फॉलो वॉट एवर यू वांट टू फॉलो, बिकॉज यूजुअली वी रिमेन एंक्शियस अबाउट प्रीलिम्स, देयरफॉर ऑटोमेटिकली we tend to focus more on modern Indian history because that comes in prelims, polity because that comes in prelims, environment because that comes in prelims. So we tend to focus more on prelims subjects or prelims plus mains subjects. But at the end of the day, each marks matters. So therefore, what do we neglect? We neglect the mains only subject, and world history is a mains only subject. So therefore, my recommendation is we should do mains only subject somewhere earlier, right? Why? Simple reason is, अगर ये आपका prelims है और यहाँ पे 3 months है, if there are 3 months before your prelims, you will not be touching world history in this particular time period. तो यहाँ पे तो mains only subject you will not be doing, right? So therefore, at least 3 months before your prelims, your mains only subjects, they should be completed. Otherwise, you will never touch world history, you will not touch post-independence India, you will do a rough patchwork kind of a job and you will simply go and sit in the exam and you will not do anything there. So, इस वजह से I would say that when you are less anxious, when the anxiety levels are less, at that point of time you cover the mains only subjects. Right? Similarly, from the perspective of interview, between the mains and the interview, you get very less time. So therefore, somewhere begin your interview preparation, start at least planning for it right from here. Because the syllabus of interview is the syllabus of your prelims, plus your syllabus of your mains, plus your syllabus of your biodata or your profile. Right? So anyways, what I wanted to hint at is that अगर आपने world history, post-independence India, ethics, इस टाइप के subjects somewhere 3 months before prelims, कम से कम एक बार अगर आपने नहीं किए हैं, if you have not done them at least once, chances are very less that in your first attempt you will take up a new subject, a fresh subject between your prelims and mains, because the time does not allow that. If you take up this, probably you will compromise on tests or you will compromise on revision, and therefore your selection will not take place, because revision and test taking is very, very important. So therefore, when to prepare world history? Somewhere in the beginning you should prepare, somewhere in the beginning. Okay. So therefore, this is the approach that I would recommend with respect to the preparation timeline. Next aspect comes how to study for world history. One of the biggest trap for the students who start preparing for the UPSC is that they focus upon the facts. Very naturally, when we read any new book and there something is written, for example, French Revolution, it happened in the year 1789 when the people, they threw open the Bastille prison. So in this sentence, what catches our attention is Bastille prison, 1789, name of the event, French Revolution. Right? Similarly, when we are discussing any other events, for example, when we are discussing the World War I, right? So there, focus again on events or focus on years or focus on words, this kind of thing happens. Student is very naturally inclined to judge himself or herself that I have understood the thing if I am able to recall that French Revolution happened in which year or which prison was opened, क्या नाम था यार उसका. That is the wrong approach. That approach does not work in the UPSC. So therefore, how to study? My first recommendation will be to neglect facts and figures, and to neglect anything that feels like rectification or rote learning. Neglect everything. This, therefore, it will vary from student to student. Some student might feel that okay, this does not feel like rectification. क्या है French Revolution 1789? हाँ, मेरे को पता है French Revolution 1789, right? But another student might feel कि यार ये क्या नाम है यार, विलियम फ्रेडरिक, क्या नाम है, मुझे नहीं याद हो रहा यार, ठीक है, अच्छा कौन था यार वहाँ पे राजा, नहीं याद हो रहा. Therefore, if you want to feel world history as a subject, which is an interesting subject, then you have to neglect all kind of things which make you feel कि ये rote learning है. इसमें क्या क्या आ जाएगा? Usually what are the things which a first attempter feels are the topics of rote learning. For example, it comes years or dates. Second aspect comes names. Then names of battles, names of personalities, names of battles, names of places. Neglect of all of that. What you should focus upon is, the focus should be on this thing. If this is an event which you are studying, event or phenomenon, whatever you are studying, then the focus should be solely on this aspect. What were the reasons that particular event happened? Why? What were the reasons? Hua kyun? And even in this why, we will not focus upon the years, we will not focus upon the names of the personalities or name of the battles or name of the places, no. Until unless really crucial. Our core focus should be upon that when we are thinking about this event, then why that event takes place, it should be something which you can explain without relying on facts and figures. A basic commonsensical theme, a basic trend, that is, you will focus upon the analytical part of it, right? So therefore you focus upon the why part of it. Similarly, you focus on the consequence part of it, that what was the consequence of this particular event. If American Revolution took place, then why did it take place? What was the British policy, right? What were the grievances of the Americans, that is the white settlers who were settled in the 13 colonies of Britain in North America. So what were their grievances? What happened that at one point of time they were very good, close collaborators of the colonial masters, that is, they were friends of British. What happened that suddenly they turned into enemies of British? Aisa kya hua? This is the intelligent part, and here the importance of events is not there, very less. Kuch ek do aayenge, but very less. There is no importance of exact place also. Right? These aspects, they will come later on. But as a beginner, as a student who wants to qualify UPSC, your focus should be on this why and the consequence. For example, in UPSC question has come that American Revolution and French Revolution, they laid the foundation of the modern world. They are simply asking you what have been the long-term consequences of American Revolution and the French Revolution. So therefore, until unless a student, he or she is able to look at the consequences and then compare the current happenings, compare the current polity padha hai, okay, look at the Indian Constitution. Do we borrow something from American Revolution or French Revolution, the constitutions which came after them? How did the American Revolution and French Revolution, they impacted the rest of the world? Was there any impact on Europe only, or there was any impact outside of Europe? So how the world changed, how the lives of the people change, etc., etc. So what are the consequences? What are the consequences on the law part? What are the consequences on the political philosophy part? What are the consequences on the other events of the world history? Right? So therefore, this is how when you think about any event, right, then you come to know all of these things, they go away. Years, names of battles, personalities, ये kunji hai. आप kunji थोड़ी पढ़ के, you will not be reading a kunji to clear UPSC. Okay, your focus should be this: why a particular event has happened, what are the consequences of that event, right? Now in this event, small battles, etc., etc., these are inconsequential. But your analytical mind, because you are not preparing for NDA, like you are preparing for being a civil servant, okay? And in the age of Google, very commonsensically, in the age of Google, anyone, even a machine can tell you that this particular event happened in this particular. Okay, machines, they can tell a lot, but anyways, but from the perspective of a thinking man will be who knows the why and who knows the consequence. When you approach world history, or for that matter any subject from this particular aspect, then you will clear UPSC, no doubt. And इसमें पता है कैसी कैसी चीजें important हो जाती हैं. Do you actually know what is the meaning of the word democracy? Do you actually know what is the difference between democracy and multi-party democracy? what is one party system and how is it different from a dictatorship? What is left wing? What is right wing? Is communism against democracy? Very small things, very small things which usually we as a student, we simply tend to rectify. Democracy and democracy, ठीक है ना, democracy, freedom of speech and expression, democracy, right? So therefore, the focus of the student should be that whenever you are reading anything, focus on the basics. Focus on the basics. Focus to an extent and in a very simple manner, so that you are able to answer these questions. Very small questions, but they keep on reappearing. So rectification happens when we do not understand the basics. Always focus on the basics. Once you are able to do that, once your basics are there, clear, then you will be able to do on the spot thinking. ठीक है, तो ये यूजली छोटी चीजों में आता है और ये छोटी चीजें बड़े बन के आगे जाके और ये कौन से, तो बहुत सिंपल है एक्चुअली. वर्ल्ड हिस्ट्री इज वेरी सिंपल. ठीक है, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. इंडियन हिस्ट्री इज ऑल्सो वेरी सिंपल. यूपीएससी इज ऑल्सो वेरी सिंपल. Just that a person should not rectify, and the person should think about it logically. One should always have an analytical peace of mind, right? One should try to see a big picture, larger picture. ठीक है, तो ये इस तरीके से हमें फोकस करना है. This is how you should study your world history, right? Then yeah, so that is what it is, and so इस तरीके से प्रिपेयर करना है. सोर्सेज हैं, ये चीजें हैं. बाकी कहते हैं if we get a chance to interact in our classes, then yes, definitely you will benefit from it. But always try to think about it and always correlate. Always correlate world history with your other subject, like modern Indian history or your current affairs, etc. So importance of world history की अगर lastly अगर मैं बात करूँ तो what is the importance of world history? अगर ठीक से पढ़ा जाए, then by reading world history, your international relations, they will become very smooth. They will become very easy, because a lot of things get repeated. A lot of things get repeated in world history. तो IR आपका बहुत ज़्यादा easy हो सकता है. You would not have to rectify a lot of things. Similarly, if you look at your world history, then you'll get a better perspective of modern Indian history. You'll be able to understand the events which happened in Indian history in a much better perspective if you have an understanding of world history, right? You get to learn about some of the social aspects or philosophy aspect also, like socialism, fascism, etc. They are part of the syllabus also, right? So therefore your world history is not just limited to that one question or two questions which come in the exam. It is also very much linked with the international relations, with the modern Indian history, and with certain other philosophies also. So therefore, in this sense, your modern Indian history, your world history will be very relevant to you, and it will be very useful. If now you have any queries, then please bring forth those queries. Let's see if there are any queries, then we'll deal with it. One thing is, from the perspective of world history, at least I would like to tell you, that use of flowcharts can be very important for notes making. Flowcharts can be very important for notes making, because for big subjects like world history, when the exam is coming closer and you have like 3 or 4 days to, you allocate 3 days or 2 days to revise, let's say, world history, then the syllabus it is huge, and unless you have made some kind of flowcharts or some kind of summaries, then without this you will not be able to. So therefore try to use the flowcharts, right? So different examples can be there. For example, if you look, you can draw flowcharts like this. So if you are looking about Karl Marx, so therefore his principles. So basically this is just an example, like Karl Marx और भी बहुत सारे ideas हैं, but when you study Karl Marx, after that you try to extract. This is just an example. You study any topic, you try to extract. You try to think, अच्छा, for example, in case of thinker, you think about that. Okay, what were his basic ideas? What he's basically saying and why he's saying that. So what is not important? Why is important? So this is the what. Internationalism. He talked about internationalism, but why? What is internationalism and why he was talking about internationalism. So these empty spaces become important. He talked about some basic conflict which is there in capitalism. So what is that basic conflict and why is that basic conflict? How the revolution will happen? It would have to be a violent revolution. Why did Karl Marx say that revolution would have to be violent? Right? That student needs to know. Inevitability of socialism. He said socialism inevitable. Bhai aisa kyun? Similarly, worker is the vanguard of revolution. Why? Why he is relying on worker? Why cannot the revolution be led by a farmer? So therefore a student should always be a thinking student, and therefore this kind of flowcharts when you make, so they become very very useful for any subject and not just world history. We have a couple of questions. Mujibur is asking, sir, for world history can we prefer only NCERT and current affairs? No, you would have to go beyond NCERTs. You would have to go beyond NCERTs because actually when you would have to study a subject at least to a decent, not too deep level, but to a decent depth level, right? So NCERT से तो थोड़ा सा आगे जाना पड़ेगा, ठीक है? और तो इसीलिए मतलब मैं कह रहा था कि अगर जैसे विजन के नोट्स देख लेते हो तो उसमें ठीक है, एक मैं ये नहीं कह रहा कि परफेक्ट है, बट हाँ काफ़ी मेहनत से बनाए हैं तो काम आ सके, इट विल बी यूजफुल. बट येस, एटलीस्ट रीड नॉर्मल लोवे वंस, खासकर कि व्हेन यू आर बिगिनिंग योर प्रिपरेशन, व्हेन यू डू नॉट हैव द एंजाइटी, एंड इफ यू जस्ट इन केस इफ यू लाइक द सब्जेक्ट, then go for normal Lowe at least, okay? Or you can read old NCERT by Acharya Arjun Dev, that is also interesting. But when you read that NCERT is brilliant book. NCERT is brilliant book. You do not, as a first attempter, you do not realize the importance of NCERT. NCERT is amazing, it is brilliant. Just that the problem is, because of its smaller size, they have compressed their analysis to such a, you know, smaller extent. Every line is Amrit. Every line is beautiful of NCERT. But it has a deep roots. So therefore, when a student reads a compact NCERT, after that what happens is he's unable to understand that okay, इस line से कहना क्या चाह रहे हैं. So that's why, for the purpose of a little bit of analysis, you would have to go beyond NCERT, right? So in NCERT, every line can be converted into a paragraph, actually. Okay. So that's one. Nuclear SMG is saying, we are nuclear, okay. Sir, besides NCERTs and Vision IAS note, do we actually need to read the thick books? No. If you are, see, that book is important. कोई यहाँ पे ऐसा नहीं है that बस Vision IAS के notes you do and you will be sorted. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. Why? Those notes are good notes because I cannot tell you that Vision notes are good. Those notes are good notes, or that book is good book, which is able to explain to the student the stuff, and therefore it is upon the student which book is good, that book is good, which the student understands, because there has to be compatibility between the reader and the writer, right? So therefore कोई shortcut नहीं है, इसलिए मैं कह रहा हूँ. So therefore, hence, if you for example read the vision notes, and after reading the vision notes, if you are able to understand what is written, then these are good notes for you. But if after reading the vision notes you feel ki no, somewhere I am not getting the picture, you give another attempt at it, you read 20-30 pages or you read a chapter, but by reading the second time also you feel no, I am not getting the feel, that means the notes are not good for you. There might be another student who finds the writing style very compatible, right? So he or she might be able to understand. So, but I am saying that these notes are, decent, right? So therefore give an attempt, give a couple of attempts at one chapter or couple of chapters, and if you feel you are understanding, then these notes are good enough for you. That is what I am saying, right? Any other question? Okay. So I think that is it. So all the best, God bless, and nothing is impossible. You will be able to clear this exam, right? I used to think that it is impossible, but जब मेरा हो गया तो आपका किसी का भी हो जाएगा, बस मेहनत करने की जरूरत है. That is what I always believe, because I'm always a champion of underdog, right? So whoever are watching this, if you are an underdog, everything is possible, right? So therefore कोई जरूरत नहीं है that you have been a very poor student or you have been a weak student in your school days or in your college days, you will not be able to clear UPSC. ऐसा कुछ नहीं, right? ठीक है, तो शुक्रिया, God bless you. I think there is one question or there is one thank you note. Thank you. Okay, see ya. Bye.